Today's show is brought to you by kegconnection.com. For all of your home brewing and draft beer equipment needs, visit kegconnection.com and use the promo code HHH to receive 5% off your order.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
I'm muted. Welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is a show where we take your questions and answer and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question that you'd like to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page. I am your host, Joshua HHH, and today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at homebrewsupply.com, Mr. Laddit Joe Ermis, as well as Mr. Todd Burns. You're not dancing conspicuously. Why are you not oh, there you go. We finally do a live episode, and you decide not to dance.
You just make that dancing thing up all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew as soon as we started doing live shows that you would. We are experimenting with live. We are, I don't know if we will continue to do the show live. It depends how this first one goes. But so far, it's not a total cluster in my office. I appreciate you guys coming down to Austin. Or Kyle. San Marcos, not that bad of a drive. Yeah. Joe, it's your old stomping grounds.
Yeah. All right. It's my old stomping ground too.
And as any Todd Burns trip is, it was very productive. We had meetings all day yesterday. I think we got a lot done. There's a lot that coming down the pipe for Homebrew Supply. That's exciting. Yeah. A lot coming down the pipe for Keg Connection as well.
Absolutely.
That's exciting. Yeah. And then I'm stuck in the middle with you guys. So,
how does that feel?
Being stuck in the middle between the two of you?
Yeah.
It's really heavy on one side. It's really heavy on one side. We have a good show because this is our 100th episode.
Yay!
I should have gotten a soundboard with the clapping.
Where's our birthday cake?
I didn't bring one. You know what? If I would have solicited for one, we might have gotten one.
That's true.
I'll tell you how good the show is getting, and by that I mean the listeners of our show are so good that they are sending us beer.
Yes,
pretty consistently now. Yeah, hold that up to your camera. Look at that. That is from the Pacific Northwest. I think it's Washington State Matchless Brewing, and that is their breakfast stout.
I don't. You like breakfast stouts?
I've been saving. We have 2 cans of this. I think I shouldn't have said that because now you know that there's 2 cans.
So there's one for me?
Exactly. Oh,
cool.
That's where I messed up, is telling you that we had 2 cans. That is not going to be good. What we had a bunch of beer in there. Joe, why did I let you pick? You went to the fridge. Can you elaborate? Why did you pick the breakfast stout?
It's breakfast.
It's still pretty early.
Because it's still yeah, I like that. That is a good point. It is still early. Before we get into, because we are going to do, it is our 100th episode, the specialty part of this. People were asking if I was going to shave again. I'm not. I trimmed a little. My wife, I did the stash heavy recently. Y'all both saw it. It wasn't the best look. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. My wife doesn't watch this, so it won't matter, but she was not a fan of it. But I definitely wanted to have a shtick for this show.
I liked it too. I thought it was very interesting. Yeah, kind of a porn star 70s type thing.
And that's a great segue into our first question. Is what the reason why I liked it, or pardon me. So Burt Reynolds, as y'all know, passed away recently.
Right. Yeah.
He made the stash cool in his prime.
Yeah.
In
chest
his era.
hair and stash. Yeah.
Yep.
He made chest hair.
Yeah.
And now that we're on video, hold on. He
And
made
you're not wearing a Hawaiian shirt though.
I'm not.
Really. Yeah.
I forgot to change before. Yeah. I wore my crab shirt last time we did our 50th. Yeah. Which is the last video episode we did. No, Pardon me. No, it's not.
We did a brew day. Yeah.
We did a brew day. That's right. That was fun. Mm-hmm. We should do another. If we do live streams, that should be when we do live streams.
We should do one up on the spike system.
We should.
That would be cool.
I need to come up on a Friday, or y'all need to brew on the days that I'm there.
Yeah.
Friday would be better.
Yeah.
It's less hectic on a Friday. I always come up Mondays, and in hindsight, that's not the best day to do things like this. Mm-hmm. Like Mondays are
Crazy,
the only day Todd tries to avoid me because he's legitimately busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Catching up from the weekend.
Trying
to catch up. And we left. It's funny. I know James is coming on later, but we left him there brewing. He just told us He's doing a almost 20-gallon batch, 18 gallons, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. Of Kolsch.
Yeah.
He knows his way. He knows the way to your heart is what I should say. Because when I finished his Kolsch that was in your kegerator, and we kind of rubbed it in, that's when I think it clicked in his head. He was like, okay,
Gotta get some more
I
going.
gotta get some more going. Todd needs more. So we are definitely. I'm excited every time James says that he's brewing, because it is good. And he's been on a Kolsch kick lately, which I'm not gonna complain. Lagers and Kolsch, right?
Well, the one he did recently that I thought was incredible was that Vienna lager.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that was really good.
You had that on tap. That didn't last long.
No, it was gone. Yeah, my friends came and drank. They came for opening weekend of dove season, which we didn't see any dove. Yeah. So all we did was drink.
That sounds like a normal hunting trip, though, from what I hear about you and your friends.
So I got that whole big refrigerator full of beer.
Yeah.
And that was wiped out. And then we drank, I think I estimated somewhere between 12 and 13 gallons of beer on tap.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And there was 3 of you? How many of them were?
No, there's seven.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Looking at our notes, we don't have a whole lot of small talk, but what I did do is I solicited like quick fire questions from people on our Instagram and on our Facebook and on our Twitter. And no one follows us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter if you're on Twitter. Whenever I solicit things, it's like the 19 people, and I think we're at like 30 now. Instagram's a much better avenue to reach out to us, but we have a bunch of quick fire questions. Let's get to those, and then we'll bring in James.
Okay.
I think that
sounds fine.
That sounds fine, and we can ask him some of these, because there were a bunch that were directed at him that I didn't put in because it hurt my feelings that they didn't ask me. But actually, the one person who did mention me, I made sure to put him in here. So first off, Ashley asked us, what's on tap right now? I think we're all empty, right?
Nothing.
I think
we have nothing on tap.
I have a kegerator back there, which if I turn my camera, but I'll mess it up, that has 2 taps that usually has at least water on it, and I'm completely bone dry.
We have a red on the way. We may start kegging it maybe today or next week for sure. We'll have a red.
Okay.
So I've got a Pilsner that's dry hopping and trying to clarify a little bit. One of the 2 carboys froze in the chest freezer. So having to figure out how to deal with that.
Is that the one that you brewed when James was out of town? That Pilsner?
No,
we did. Pardon me.
It's the one we did with Brandon. Came down from.
There you go. That's what it was.
Colorado Springs.
That's what it was. Well, James was out of town though for that, wasn't he? When Brandon came. Wasn't that
yes,
that was?
Yes,
he was at the beach.
He was at the beach. That's
right.
right.
Yeah, he was at the beach.
Because that was the running joke with us was like when he leaves town.
Right.
Oh, and the reason he's not on this is he has federal jury duty. I've never even heard of anybody getting that.
Have you known anyone to be summoned for federal?
No, I mean
we're talking about that, and Todd is considerably older than you and me. Considerably older. Considerably older. Like he could be my grandfather's father. But no, he even said you don't know a single person who has had to be summoned for federal jury duty.
No, and he lives a long way. So they were like, "We need you to be there at 7:00 in the morning," and it's like 130-mile drive.
That's ridiculous.
But we knew he wasn't going to get picked. I mean, that's no offense to you, James. We just knew. We knew. I told him to lie. He is such a good person that he did it all by the book. Like he was like, no, they sent it in the mail. I was like, well, was it certified mail? No. Well, then why did you reply? I probably just incriminated myself somehow.
Oh, yeah. That's federal. It's federal. They're coming for you.
They always seem to be coming for me. So, yeah, thank you, Ashley, for writing that. It's a bummer, and what an awful way to start the 100th episode that we don't have anything on tap.
Well, that's why we have our listeners to send us stuff.
Yes,
that's right.
If it wasn't for our listeners, we'd have no beer at all.
Ed, you kind of jumped the gun on it. The next question, Ed wrote in and said, what's in your fermenters right now? Me and my dad don't have anything going. What are you have the Pilsner, and then you said you have the red.
The red, and we're about to have a Kolsch. So
James is brewing 18 gallons of Kolsch.
Nancy's got an alt up there.
That's
getting
right.
Ready for Rhymes and Vines.
In Stephenville. That's the festival, right?
Yeah. And James did tell me he had a secret stash of like 2.5 gallons that didn't fit in a full keg that he's going to give me when I get back. So
I love him and his secret stashes.
Yeah.
And when I find them, he gets so bummed. Drew wrote in and said, you did a favorite moments on your 50th podcast. So what is your current favorite podcast moment now? I'm assuming he's talking about on our 50th. We talked about what was our favorite interview or favorite episode up to then.
Right.
Joe, we'll let you start because you've been on the show a little less frequently than us. And
I think the live brew date, the last live
Yeah.
episode we did, I had a lot of fun doing that and hanging out with your pops, and I think that was really the first time I brewed with James too. So
I think it was the first time y'all
that was
brewed
fun.
together.
We got to try out some new equipment, the mash and boil, and the
Was that
Genesis.
before the spike was even installed at headquarters, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Todd, your favorite?
I can't think of anything that really stands out in the last 50. I think
Todd doesn't have a good memory, and he doesn't listen to the show, so that's the deer in the headlight
Wow.
look. Because he's like, we
haven't like gone anywhere super exciting. It's just been we've just been doing shows. I think there's something to be said for that, though.
The first,
the Muttons episode was cool. We did
The
that.
Muttons-
That was full.
the
That
Muttons,
was fun.
they were a lot of fun. Phil and Jason.
Yeah.
Phil Bamford and Jason. I say cauliflower.
Is
Pardon
that
me.
one,
Chalifer.
Is that one been released?
It has.
Okay,
that was
last Friday?
last week's.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 week ago today. It was two. People wrote in, so we need to stop recording in your barn because the echo. I spent too much time trying to get rid of the echo, and it's just not possible.
Oh.
And it's my fault. I picked the location, so I'm not. I would love to throw you under the bus as I try to as often
Yes.
as possible. But
Jeez, I wonder why you picked that.
yeah.
The place that had all the beer.
I know exactly. Well, and in hindsight, the weather was so good, we could have done it on the porch.
Sure.
Yeah.
If we record out there, we need to just do it on the porch.
Or we could take one of the bedrooms and sound it, proof it, or we could take something and
You know what? That's not a bad idea because now that we're going to be doing video episodes remotely, all that foam in my office, we could repurpose and put it out in your barn.
I don't really want that in my barn. But thanks.
Well, how would we soundproof one of the rooms then if you don't use foam?
I don't know.
Don't think too hard.
I'm looking up at your foam. I don't think I want that on my ceiling in my.
Yeah. So you just make promises.
Yeah. I forgot how ugly it was. Sorry.
Forgot how ugly it was. You're right. The first 50, we had a lot more traveling. Where we did the podcast on the road. Like I think we talked about the Matt Meadows episode at New Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
Not him, Matt, but someone from New Belgium was just on some big NPR. Do y'all listen to how it's either called How I Built This or How This Is Built? It's an NPR podcast.
I used to listen to a lot more when I was down here. It's hard.
You know which one I'm talking about? I forget her name, the host.
Show? Yeah.
Yeah. But they were New Belgium was just on it, and that's a fairly large show.
Yeah.
Compared to us,
Interesting.
they're
I might have to check that out.
astronomically large. But
Right.
But it's cool. New Belgium's always doing cool things, and I always take pride. Like my favorite moments of the show are when we're connected, even in the slightest, with people who have big success in our industry or in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did an interview with Jim Miller, who's a UFC lightweight. He just fought his 30th fight, which is the record for number of fights in the UFC, and he just won. Yeah, he just won, and he was kind of an underdog going into it. And not if you ask him, but he's been fighting Lyme disease for a while now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty inspirational story. But seeing him, like, I was melting that. Like, oh yeah, like we follow each other on Instagram, and I've talked to him. Like, we're not friends. Like, I would call him my friend if he's okay with that. But we've interviewed a lot of cool people, and even though our show, as much as it's growing, we're still very small. But the fact that a lot of people in the industry are willing to give their time, or people who you would call, at least pseudo celebrities that are willing to give their time to some schmoes, with headphones.
Those were the first 50 you're talking. I mean, you know what? Blickman was a good one too.
I don't remember if Jim Miller was first 50 or second 50. I think he was second 50.
Was he really?
I think he was in the 50s actually. I think he was like 55 or.
The
I'm
John
making stuff up now.
The John Blickman one was interesting.
I was
too.
you're reading my mind.
Yeah.
The HomebrewCon stuff was up there for me as well. HomebrewCon always is though.
It's a fun environment to be around. Yeah,
exactly. The event in general is just so much fun. I hope next year we're working it out to try to incorporate this into the booth to be able to do this while we're there too. Mm-hmm. Like during the show.
Rhode Island next year?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I like Providence.
Rhode Island.
Very nice.
That's going to be the same flight duration, I believe, as it was to Portland. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Same distance.
Yeah, because if it's within a certain amount, I always throw it out there to Todd, like, I could drive. And I don't want to drive to Providence.
No, you don't want to drive to Providence.
No. In Denver, if we, pardon me, we're not showing at Denver next year at CBC.
But it's actually faster to drive back from Denver, isn't it?
I don't know.
Remember the last time
I did beat you.
You beat me back.
I dropped you off at the airport.
You dropped me at the airport and made it to my house before I did.
I did. Well, I
wrong.
drove right through the night though.
Yeah.
It wasn't the least favorable experience I've ever had, but I was tired.
Yeah.
And I made sure you called Liz so she didn't shoot me when I walked in the door at 3:30 in the morning. I was like, please, Todd, she knows that I'm coming, right? Yeah. You'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Todd,
she would shoot you in a heartbeat.
All your family. Whenever I stayed at your house not that long ago and you forgot to tell your youngest daughter, who's now, 17?
Yeah.
You didn't tell her I was coming. Thank God she wasn't near a gun when I opened the door. I was like, hey, Tori, why are you here? I was like, oh, your dad didn't tell you?
Of course he didn't tell you.
Yeah, of course he
Yeah,
didn't.
she shot a snake not too long ago.
That was that same trip.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, did you shoot it with a... What'd you shoot it with? She's like, I think it was the shotgun. I asked her, was it the shotgun? She's like, yeah, it was shotgun. I go back, and it was my little bitty 9mm pistol she had shot it with, right in the head.
Right in the head.
So she could hit you easy.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. Man, I really digressed us from our favorite moments.
Yeah.
Not getting shot was my favorite moment. Thank you, Chu, for submitting the question. Meredith wrote in, what is your favorite store-bought beer of 2018 so far? And then she has a follow-up that I'll ask after that. Favorite beer you've had this year? For me,
I think we should open this one first.
Joe, crack that open for us.
Before we say for sure.
I'm going to say, leading up to this moment, and maybe because my memory's bad, the Marzen, the Oktoberfest from Shiner, maybe I'm a sellout. I know Shiner, some people consider, I mean, they're still, are they still a microbrewery? They're not micro.
No, I wouldn't say
I mean, but are they still in that craft badge
Yeah,
area?
they're under craft.
Okay,
Yeah,
they're
sure.
still in the craft badge. Their Oktoberfest was phenomenal.
It was good. It was
that
good.
was really good. Todd, since he's pouring, what was your favorite beer so far before we drink this breakfast stout?
My favorite commercial beer so far?
You had to buy it at a store.
Or what about a bar?
Or a bar. Yeah, golly. You want to argue semantics?
Well, we got to try the Piney the Elder. I'd never tried it before, but it didn't. I mean, it was good, but it didn't really.
Good point. You're right. I mean, what I forgot if we were talking about bar trips, I don't know if I might change my mind yet. I'll think about that.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm thinking about it. You're right. Pliny the Elder, that was solid.
That was
really
very good. That was well, and everybody's always talked about it all these years, and I've never had an opportunity to try it, so that was interesting.
Yeah, fresh on tap too.
I mean, I've never liked this question because
we get it a lot. Too.
I know, but I try so many beers. I bet I've tried 100+ new beers in the last 50. Okay, let's not lie to you.
Yeah,
I've tried
in the last 30 hours
400 beers that I'd never had before since in the last 50 episodes.
Yeah,
and I mean, there were a lot of them I liked. I just don't know. I don't really have. I cannot tell you I had this beer and this was my favorite of every beer I've had in the last 50 episodes.
Yeah.
So same answer, Joe?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say the way I would answer it would probably be some of the beers in Portland that we tried,
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And in our industry, or what we do rather for a living, it is kind of hard to narrow it down to like definitively this is it. I think my answer being the Marzen is because it's the freshest in my brain, and it is connecting with those opioid receptors in my brain of pleasure. That is like, you remember this. That's being like really
asking
good.
somebody with their favorite song from their favorite band. It's like I like all their songs. You know?
Hands down, Dashboard Confessional. No, I'm kidding. That was an inside joke no one gets, and now everyone thinks I'm a sissy. Let's try this breakfast stout, though.
That's good.
Oh,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite beer I've tried in some time.
And I don't know the person who wrote in this quickfire put their name as Drew. I don't believe it's the same person.
Prost.
Salute. Andrew from Washington State, who we met at HomebrewCon, he sent us this beer. Him and Miranda.
Yeah. They were fun to hang out with.
They were a lot of fun.
That is also something I would love to make regular is when we go, like we had a guy reach out to us who's from Rhode Island who said, let me know when you're here. I'd love to give you the tour.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I told him, absolutely.
Nice.
We will connect because Andrew and Miranda, were phenomenal with showing, even though I think they lived in the area for a little bit. They're in Washington State,
Right.
but they knew everywhere.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
did.
oh, Joe, you like these styles? Boom. We went to, oh, darn it. Now I'm going to.
And then we went, remember
not
for
the-
James, we went to
something Nation. Or,
Fourth Nation.
Oh, that was good.
gosh, what was the name of that bar? Oh, no. I always say Alteration in my head. Oh, no.
It was.
He'll comment. He'll tell me.
It was, that place was interesting. They had that blueberry.
Blueberry.
Tastes like a muffin.
Was it not a blueberry? It was a blueberry sour, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I think it was. And their adjunct stouts are
It's
really
very,
good.
that's good.
I think that might be my favorite. That was a really good breakfast stout.
Yeah, I will say
That was
that
really good.
I know we've already passed this over, and it's not a commercial beer, so I'm not answering the question at all. But that the beer that what was that? Not blueberry. What was the homebrewed beer that we had a while back?
Cherry wheat.
The cherry wheat. That was the most surprising beer that I liked in
Yeah?
the last 50 episodes.
Yeah.
Because I
It's
thought
just
I was
you're
going to
not a
hate
fan of
that.
style, right?
Yeah, and it was
You know
so
who
good.
we should bring? We should bring in now because it's the time, and I just noticed what time it is. Let's bring in James
Okay.
real quick, and let's get him in on this. I wish that we could
Video.
do video. It would be a lot better, and he doesn't always get the invite. So let me get the link here and do all. Hey,
Oh, we've got. Oh,
James
we
is
can see
there.
him at least.
yeah.
I can see the video, but they can't.
James just can't hear us, or pardon me, he can't see us. James, you there? There.
Yep.
Same problem as me.
You and Todd have the exact same problem. Oh, that's
I was
great.
beginning to wonder if you were going to call.
Yeah, no. I was trying to give you some time to eat.
So the
that's
people
fine.
can't. We can see him, but nobody else can.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't
Unfortunately,
know that that's a bad thing, really.
no. And if you mute
No,
your,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, if you
that's a
mute-
very, very good thing.
yeah, you sound great though, buddy. We are doing some quick fire questions from listeners, and I'd be remiss since you are most people's favorite part of this podcast, or at least they know who to ask questions to. The question we just did, James, favorite moment of the last 50 episodes. I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
I think the Blankman interview, also the interview with Imperial, both of them.
Oh, we
I
forgot
forgot
about
yeah,
that
that
one.
was a good
Yeah, we were all sloshed. That's why you forgot. No, we weren't at all. Owen was phenomenal. He was another. So between the listeners that showed us around and Owen Lindley, who showed us
he
around,
showed us around a lot,
we
too.
were
Yeah.
spoiled.
Oh,
Owen
yeah.
showed
Treated
us
like royalty.
He treated us like royalty.
And
No
we
kidding.
did drink on that podcast. Remember, he has beers from different people that uses yeast that send him samples.
Exactly.
They were really good.
What?
Yeah.
No, I think he just went and picked up some beer. 'cause
I think that's
they were
exactly
out.
what happened
Yeah.
for us.
Well, if you remember, he said that the ones that he picked up was the brewers in the area that use yeast.
him. Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it was. You're right. James,
Okay,
you pay more attention than we do.
Okay, so mine was a half truth. How
Yeah.
about that?
Story of your life, man.
You could run for office.
You can run for office. Jay, the next one that we literally just answered was your favorite commercial beer of 2018. Like favorite beer that you got from a bar or a store.
I think that Brute was pretty good in Portland.
Yeah, it was. That was the
Portland
first
City-
bar we went to, right?
I
Yeah.
distinctly remember James tasting that beer and going, "I'm going to brew one of these."
Oh,
That's always a good
I
sign.
thought,
am.
you know what,
We
James?
just got to get the amylase.
I looked for it actually on day before yesterday, and I was having some trouble finding it. So we'll have to sit down together and
James,
get that.
I'm really surprised that your answer isn't the Pliny the Elder, the IPA. I'm really surprised, man. I thought you would.
Yeah, well, no, you're not.
We had some good alt beers in Portland too.
Yeah, the bar, the German bar where we had another one would be. I think my go-to beer now is the Hofbrau Original.
Oh,
really
that
like it.
Hofbrau was great at that German
Yeah,
bar.
right.
We could have stayed at that bar the whole week, I think, James.
Before you were on the episode, James, I was saying I think my favorite homebrew beer in the last 50 episodes, that Vienna Lager was excellent.
Really
Oh,
good.
thank you. Yeah,
that was very good.
It was.
I'm mashing in some more Kolsch for you.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. We're very excited about
that's
that.
why I'm bummed that you couldn't be here, but I did want to bring you in quick to answer some of these, but also to talk about what you're brewing because that directly affects all of us, James.
Yes,
It
yes.
does. Yeah, I'm doing a bigger batch. I know it's a 15-gallon setup, but I can promise you I can get at least 18-gallon yield from that.
I like
But you
hearing
just got to
that.
be real careful and have a real nice slow rolling boil.
Yeah.
And just watch what you're doing. I've got it in there right now. So
Hopefully,
We'll
it's
see.
not boiling over while he's doing this, right?
No, it's mashing right now. So
Well, and
got-
also, James, we
got-
forgot to tell you, but we told the audience, we took a poll, and they didn't decide they wanted me to shave to my mustache. They wanted you to shave
thank
your.
God.
They wanted you to shave your head into a mohawk. So you're on the
Yeah,
spot.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would
We're gonna
would
need to get
probably be a
that-
better look for me than what I have now.
We're gonna need that hat off, though. Yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
yeah.
we don't have video though. We can't.
No,
do
we
it.
can't. Bring,
Damn
well,
it.
I could record James.
Darn.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't do that.
oh, shucks. No kidding. I'm surprised we haven't got. I'm sure the comments now that they can see us and see me and Joe, people are gonna think we're related. We did that a lot.
We have gotten that before.
Generic white guy with beard.
Yeah, we
Yes,
went and ate
yeah.
lunch at a restaurant in Comanche, and when Todd covered the bill, and the lady, well, did you hire twins on purpose? I was
Did you hire twins? No, we're not twins. All right, James.
God, at least she didn't say ask if you were my sons. I hate that.
James, before I let you go, what do you have on tap at home right now? Because I didn't ask you that. That was another quick fire question that people wanted us to.
Let's see. I've got Vienna Lager. I've got an alt beer. Yeah, I've got the alt beer I didn't really care for. The last one I did. I've got it on tap because I just
Yeah, the
really don't
Vienna
wanna throw it
too. I'm
away.
coming to your
Yeah.
house. Why am I hanging
And then
out
I've
at my
got
house?
Coles too. So
He's got all three.
Wait a second. James is hoarding all the beer.
no, I just don't. I know this sounds weird, but I'm not drinking near as much beer as I used to. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But,
He's got a drinking problem. That's what
he's
it
got
is.
you know, I had that
Bro.
chocolate stout in there just until like
He's not drinking enough.
about a month ago. I still had chocolate stout in there.
Wow, that was a good beer.
When
I
was
forgot
that
about that
from?
beer. Remember that beer?
Yeah.
That
we,
beer was
we brewed it
excellent.
back in what was it,
Whoa.
November?
I was just saying that's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was starting to not taste that good. So
You know,
I had
James,
to
that's why I
throw it out.
keep the beer at my dad's because it wouldn't get. I just wouldn't go through it if it was here. I don't have. Believe it or not, guys, I don't invite people over to my house much.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of friends. Or I mean, sorry, I just don't have. I don't invite people. But we hang out at my dad's all the time when we brew there. It just makes sense.
No,
to-
that's a great place to brew. I can't imagine a better place than our brewing room here to brew beer than
you.
over there.
That reminds me. Are you coming down next weekend for Oktoberfest in Blanco?
Boy, I'm sure going to try to make it.
Okay.
I don't have Emily that weekend, so there's no reason for me not to go. But my brother and I have been working on the yellow truck, and
I see that on your Instagram.
yeah.
Well, if you do, let me know. I got a ticket for you.
Oh, sweet.
You as well, Joe. I think we already talked about
Yeah,
that.
that'd
If you end up coming,
four weekends in a row, they're
Yeah.
coming down.
are you coming for sure?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet.
Todd is the only one who has definitely flaked.
Yes,
I
I'm
say
out.
flaked. Your uncle's birthday, 80th birthday.
80th birthday party.
Oh, you gotta go to that.
absolutely.
Yeah. I would. I like Paul, your uncle, way more than I like myself. I would totally do that too.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
You can drink real ale beer any time of the week
Yeah.
too. But it is a fun event. But James, thank you, sir, for your time.
you bet.
Next week, you will be back on the show regularly in our new video format. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
We'll
Cool.
talk to you soon, man. See ya.
All right. So
The power of the interwebs, fellas.
That's right.
I like that. I do need to make it to where I can bring them in. Did you see that it underlaid it on it? So it does look like I was able to bring them in. I didn't want to stop mid-show and go,
Yeah.
oh, look, it did
I
work.
was wondering if you would be able to just drag it.
I could
over.
have, totally. In hindsight,
That's crazy.
at least we know it works.
Yeah.
It better to hash it out now on our live episode. Yeah, the best time to hash things out is when you're broadcasting
Right,
live to
right.
the 4 people.
We got 4? Look at
Yeah,
that.
well, it's 'cause no one knows about our Twitch.
Right.
You gotta like that. Oh, now we have 0. It peaked at 2. Or no, peaked at. Anyway, now I don't want to digress because our information is depressing. We have a real question that I do want to get to, so that the show is not just for naught and a goof off show.
Sure.
Keep our Q&A, and because James wasn't here, we had to bring on another expert with Joe. We thank you so much for coming here, because Todd and I would have just had to Google this.
Not an expert, but I'll give my opinion.
You'll do, yeah, we appreciate that. Edward, using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, wrote in, I have a question about mixing yeast. When I brew a big beer, I am lazy and just pitch 2 packets of yeast. I have been pitching a California ale yeast and an Irish ale yeast. Am I getting a completely unique flavor by doing this? Or is one yeast strain overpowering the other to the point I might as well just pitch the same yeast strain? Thank you. Love listening to you guys. Joe, and Todd, you have.
Well, I don't understand the question 100%. Let me. Can we clarify it first? Why
he's not
would
here.
Why would he? I know, but do you? Maybe you understand. Why would he do that every isn't it purposeful?
Okay.
I don't understand.
If he's doing a big batch, instead of making like a starter, I guess he's saying he'll just pitch 2 packs.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he just pitch the
same.
same ones?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
Not to interrupt
depending on what he's making.
Some people like to experiment to see the end
the
result.
most fun. Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that's what he's doing here, right? It's just experimenting.
Oh, I thought maybe he just happened to have those 2 laying around, and
it could be.
That could totally be it too.
I think you will get a little bit different of a strain of a flavor from that by mixing those yeasts. For the initial fermentation of that first batch, I don't think you're going to have one just overpowering the other to the point where you're not, they're going to be pretty close as far as what they're eating up. But if you propagate that yeast, or you use that culture to make another batch and another batch and another batch, the more you use that same culture, you may start to see the Irish or the California one may start kind of dominating over the other. But I don't think you're going to notice that much for the first fermentation it goes through.
But you're definitely going to have a much different taste than using one or the other, I would think, right?
Sure. Yeah. Imagine you'll get a little bit of, California in general is a neutral strain, so it doesn't impart a ton of flavor. But your Irish strain is going to, be a little bit more malt. It's going to accent your malts a little more. So you may have, a little more of a unique flavor. And I think it's an interesting idea.
So would you say when encouraging people to do this kind of experimentation, to really look at what the yeast is going to bring out, because that will guide you. Like if you go to Y-Yeast website or Imperial's website, it's going to tell you what that strain is intended for, the characteristics. Sure. So if you at least know a ballpark of what you're trying to accomplish, it wouldn't make sense. Like there are some strains that would not make sense to throw into paired, correct?
Right. Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, wait a minute though. One's a top fermenting and one's a bottom fermenting, right?
No, they're both ale.
The California Common is technically a lager though, and
he wrote California ale yeast.
Oh, he did ale. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought he said common. Okay.
Again, evidence live stream that you don't listen when I talk. He said But
I don't deny that.
Blending beers post brew is very common. Joe, are you familiar with blending yeast? I mean, is this something you've ever done?
It's not something I'm super versed in by any means, but I've done it before. I've pitched an 04 and an 05 dry yeast together.
On purpose?
That's all I had, yeah.
That's all you had, or on purpose?
Well, on purpose, because that's all I had.
Okay.
Mother of invention.
And I didn't notice a ton of difference than what I would have pictured it tasting like with 2 of the same pack. Okay. So, and that, like I said, it wasn't a re-fermentation on the same culture or anything. It was just the initial fermentation. But, I do think it is a little more unusual than, like you said, blending beer after the fact is more common.
Right, definitely.
But I think it's an interesting idea. And, I imagine that there are a lot of breweries that do that have their house strain or their house culture, and it's a mixture of, English and California or whatever it may be. It's a little more unique than just pitching a Y-Yeast pouch.
You could propagate from the end product of that, right? I mean, just like you would with any yeast.
Yeah.
With the characteristics, like
they may change. You don't know. We don't know what.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I mean, it just is no objective answer to that, right?
White Labs actually does a Brew, I think, a Frankenstein stout, and they pitch like over 100 different strains in that same stout.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Is
that.
it different strains every time, or every year, or whatever?
No, they have. I think it's the same set of 120 or whatever it is, different strains that they ferment, and then so I went to one of their tasting rooms in Colorado, right next to Upslope, and we had the first generation, and then we tried it right next to the second generation, and you could notice some difference, and that's why I was thinking that. The second generation, some of those strains started taking over a little bit more, and you could get more of that.
Well, I know James has done before when he's used 2 different brands. They're kind of the same strain,
right?
But they're not
propagated
100%.
by different people.
But I know he's mixed that before, just because we didn't have enough of one strain, so he's put in. I think he did Imperial and Y-Yeast. Yeah.
So are you saying that most of the time, when in our bubble of experience that you mix, it's usually out of necessity, not out of experimentation?
Yes.
Okay.
That's I mean that's
But that sounds like a cool thing. I mean, if you have
Right,
have the time
right.
and you don't mind spending the money on, because potentially to get something you're not going to like
Sure.
as an end result. But I mean, you could do that with any brewing, to be fair.
Oh, you can make beer. I mean, you could go to the store and buy bread yeast to make beer. I mean,
Oh, totally.
yeah. So
It's not gonna
I
taste
think I wonder if When I wonder too.
it's
do
fairly
y'all-
common at one time,
Yeah.
right?
Do you
Yeah.
follow Marshall over in Brewlosophy? Do you ever look at their experiments?
good.
I'm sure this had to be one they've
Sure,
done before.
sure. Yeah, I know about it.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
I need to look more into it. Now I just sound catty, like bringing them up and not doing my homework to see what. But I'm pretty sure they've done an experiment like this.
I would
before.
imagine so.
They do
They've
experiments
covered-
on everything
yeah,
under the sun.
They've covered a lot of stuff.
Maybe we should do one. Let's try it.
We should, and we should take notes on other things they're doing successfully.
I
And
think we
we
should do a
copy it.
California
What I've
Common.
Done most similar to that would be brewing a 15-gallon batch and then splitting it into 3 different carboys and
Yeah.
using a different strain for each
Ah.
one,
Yeah, we've
and that
done
way
that.
you can
We've done
it's
that.
not
Yeah.
all smeared together. You can kind of taste the differences between
That's
them.
actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, because you do. Yeah, there's definitely a difference.
Right, yeah, it's like with brand and strain, like you can see some
Mm-hmm.
just take off and some are lower and slow, and so it's
Does that and that helps you
Oh,
with efficiency for future brewing?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you can help with preference, like what strain do I really like for this
Yeah.
style, or what brand is
the last time you did that, you even used a dry yeast as one of them, right?
right.
What happened to that? I never got to try those.
There's frozen.
Oh, so we did a really cool experiment. We used 3 different yeast strains in 3 different vessels, and
Yeah.
then we froze it.
And then we froze it. Yeah. That's cold crashing, right? I mean,
Well,
have I been doing
it's
it wrong?
supposed to be lagering, and then I cracked it open, and one of the carboys that's touching 2 walls of the freezer
Yeah.
is frozen. So I'm assuming
saw
just
it.
being in
I
contact.
mean, I
with
saw
the,
it was the one that's in
Ice,
the
it's
old building,
ice
right?
beer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
ice.
Remember
exactly
ice
right.
beer?
Bud Ice.
Yeah.
So ice beer, all they did was
Ice house.
you freeze whatever you freeze doesn't have the alcohol in it initially,
Right, scrape that
and
off.
then you take that out and you have a much higher alcohol.
right. Mm-hmm. Oh
So
yeah.
you're an experimenter.
Thank you for submitting the question. One last quick one before we go, because it's about wrap up time. John asked us, what are the plans for the next 50? Obviously, we don't have plans for the next 3, really. But I do know, before Todd interjects, because you can always correct me on the travel stuff, so I won't even bring up my best case scenarios. But we have a lot more interviews with other industry people, specifically other home brewers that are kind of making a splash on the scene.
Cool.
We have an interview with Heidi from West Coast Witches Brewing. She's a cider
Nice.
head.
That should be fun.
We've never discussed cider beyond the one we had in Portland.
Yes,
And
that we both liked. Yeah.
Loved it, and I've never
Yeah.
been a cider person. I don't know, Joe, if you're much
I'm not
of
a
cider.
huge cider guy.
This
It's
cherry
just-
one, you should have went out with us that night.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Whew, but
I'm always up to taste them.
she's coming up. Another interview with Mackenzie from her group's called Bitches and Brews. I can say that word because it's part of her name, her brand name. I can say that. I had to ask.
That's her Instagram name.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
follow
you've seen
her,
Mackenzie.
yeah. Mhm.
They all have big followings. We have some other interviews too that I'm trying to wrap up. We have brewery interviews that I'll be very excited to announce if they respond to me or if they confirm. We always get responses. Todd, anything I missed for?
We talked about going to Big Bend.
Yes.
Do you know that and I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I'm fairly confident that I read that Big Bend Brewery won like a gold medal. I think I saw a billboard for their Hefeweizen.
Yeah, I think
You
they
told
took
me
gold.
they did.
Yeah,
I didn't look it up.
we bought a 6-pack. We've tried it before, but we bought a 6-pack. My wife loves it, but that'd be a fun one to do.
You told me we could plan it soon, like October when you're not in
Yeah.
Wyoming.
You got to contact them.
I think
though.
it's them that make the La Frontera. I like that. It's
Oh
like,
yeah. That's
And they
good
have a
too.
new Tejas series.
I tried their pale ale last night. It was good.
Was that from the Tejas series?
That was actually theirs, but I noticed the Tejas was right next to it, so they brew both.
I think
Is that
Tejas
right?
is a series from
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Like
Well,
I think
the-
like Hops and Grain has like the dispensary series
Mhm.
or dispensary, pardon me.
Mhm.
I added
No,
an extra.
this was the Big Bend Pale Ale, and they have a specific
Okay.
name for each one, and I can't remember.
But Big Bend is something that Todd and I, even before we ever knew each other, it was always a common place we shared. And Joe, you've not been there, right?
I haven't.
Okay.
You should go.
So that's
I
why
would
we're
love
s-
to.
that's
Yeah,
why we're
I've heard.
saying.
I've heard great things about
yeah.
it.
We'll get
Well,
Joe
we'll
out
do
there.
the interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's
Guys,
plan it.
happy 100. You don't have any more. I was gonna say I still have a little to cheers, but we'll try another one off air.
There's still a little in here.
There you go, Todd. Pour it.
Whoa.
We'll cheers real quick. Joe still has some. See, good, because it's barely past noon. Goodness,
Okay.
Todd.
Cheers.
Here's to, I guess, another 100 more.
To another 100.
Yeah.
We'll do that. And that is going to do it, friends, for another episode. Oh, no, where's my music? There it is.
I can do it for you. I know it now.
Oh, I'm muting you now.
Do-do-do-do.
That'll do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page. Thank you to our show sponsor, catconnection.com, for supporting our podcast and the home brewing community. Go to catconnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. On behalf of Todd Burns, Joe Ermis, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.